What up? I almost didn't get a chance to do this, y'all, because the YouTube algorithm or whatever it is, I don't know what to call it, was doing some extra funny stuff. However, I wanted to just briefly speak on it. I got about 25, 30 minutes. I can really hit this subject on the head and then I got to roll out. But the Passover started officially last night. Today is so called April 16th, but I'm going to try to show y'all on my phone. Give me one moment. I have a picture that I saved. See if I can't blow it up. That that orb you see right there, that's the moon. That's a full moon. Okay. Let's see if I can't get it a little more centered for you so you can. There we go. Man, that's a full moon in the picture. And if you can see the little one, two, three, four, five, 6 points, that's where the Star of David actually comes from. That they think that they call the Star of David. Uh, however, the Passover started last night. So what that means for me, the next 7 days, what I'm going to do, nobody else has to do, but I'm going to remove the baking soda. I'm going to look for any yeast that I possibly have and anything else that's considered leaven, a rising agent. It's something that makes that you put in the bread or into a pastry or into anything that you can make edible or into any sort of product that you can use. Get the leaven out the house. I'm going to do that. Uh, So no regular bread for the next 7 days. Not really a big deal. I don't eat a lot of bread like that anyway. Not that kind of bread. I eat a lot of flat bread. Uh, what else? No beer. Haven't been drinking beer for the better part of a month and a half almost. So it's not really a big deal there. Um, what else? I'm going to be buying a lot of lamb this next coming week. I'm going to buy a lot of lamb and I'm going to cook some lamb every day. Do my best to do that. And I don't know what else. I just doing the basic regular thing. The Passover, putting the people on. Now let's talk about the people being put on. Because I know a lot of people don't understand this, but brother Andre Wickham was talking to me, and he was saying, "Bro, I don't think people understand how important it is to be put on and the actual art of it." And as opposed to me talking about what Black people can do today to help one another endure today because they don't want to hear that. That's not the kind of hope they desire to have. So I'd rather tell them about something that happened a long time ago in the past to people who they may or may not believe may have relation to them. And the fact remains this: there are individuals, there are people who, for a want of a better term, uh, could not help themselves. But luckily for them, or fortunately for them, the Most High God, the creator of heaven and earth, and all things therein and all things without, uh, made a circumstance that the people could thrive from. And the art of putting on starts really with, you could go all the way back before Abraham, but we're just going to start with Abraham. And the art of putting on starts with him by making Abraham a man when he was alive in his own rights, was king. He was a king to the people. He was a king-like man, and this is given reverence to when he deals with the children of Ket as far as finding a burial home or burial grounds, not just for his wife, but for all the generations to come. And so, the sepulchres, yes, they were buried in caves, so that way they would be undisturbed. Having said that, he picks a man He grooms this man. And this man's first model of grooming, he says, okay, I want you to become circumcised. So the man does this. Then he says, all right, I'm going to take his son, who his is his for sure bona fide 100% his bloodline son. You know, peace, brother. Peace. You know, and I just don't know if people understand that Isaac was chosen to do a task of putting the people in position to come back to the land later. You see what I'm saying? So Abraham spent a majority or a certain part of his life in the land of Canaan. Then Isaac, he was a sojourner. He put in the time with the Philistines, and then he came back to Canaan eventually. And then obviously Jacob and Esau both actually stay in Canaan eventually, in and around the land. So when we're talking about, how the people got put on in the first place, we're talking about it's a whole process of things that have to take place in order to even create a nation of people. And so what happens is that, or from what I can perceive, what I think we all will agree to is that even though it was unfortunate what happened to Joseph, it's probably the best thing that could have happened for them, because there were an unknowable number of families of people who died through those famines. We're not from those bloodlines because we're still here. So when we look at the situation and all the children of Jacob go down into Egypt, now this is the part where the Most High God really put them on. He he allows for them to get lands where they can pasture their cattle and their flocks, right? And their keen, right? Or kind, however you want to say it. But their animals, they're able to grow these animals in great numbers, great abundance. I won't get into the book of Leviticus just right this moment. I got some stuff coming this week. But what does happen is everything that's being asked of the people to do, for the most part, they're able to actually complete those tasks. So let's just put all the gold, all the silver, all the bronze aside. Let's just talk about the goat skins and the ram skins and any of the other skins that would have been used by the people to build the tabernacle of testimony, the tabernacle of witness, and the court that goes with it, and all the other things, and the clothes for Aaron and all that stuff, right? When we look at that, they have to have the animals already to do that with, right? When it talks about timber and wood and all that stuff, these people have to already have these things. So they were in a position in Egypt not only to grow in number, but to actually grow in true substance. So when they left the land, they didn't just leave with pocket lint. Now, when I say the Passover put the people on, we're going to get deep here for a second. We're going to get outside of what we read, and we're going to just get into base people emotions. The Egyptians had just suffered the greatest tragedy, travesty known in their history to that point, up until that point, and until now. They'll never be like that ever again. It's hard for me to believe that the soldiers that were with Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, were even had the heart to pursue after the children of Israel. Right. So even if their hearts were hardened, it doesn't mean that there wasn't other things within their mind and within their heart that consumed them. Which is why some of those men at a certain point said, hey, the Lord fights for them. Let's turn around. And Pharaoh's like, bump all that. Forget that. We're chasing them into the water. Obviously, they didn't make it. But it's just one of those types of things where people don't even consider how they felt. They just read the story and that's it. It's just the baseline story is what they get. And they're not able to perceive anything because I understand the scripture says not to add or to take away, but that's the physical wording when you're reading it to somebody. You're not supposed to add anything to it or take away from it. If you're saying to somebody, I'm not going verbatim what the scripture says, but this is a implication or a implied understanding, a tacit understanding, one can say that. So the Most High God put the people on by first picking someone who was in a position that his bloodline continuity was strong enough to survive all the different events that would take place. That does matter. Then he placed those people in a land where they would always be, or where they would be, and they wouldn't be. You're a stranger, but you're not totally unknown. People know who you are. So by the time the children of Israel are a full blown nation, the people that are coming back are already associated with peoples that have been in the lands already. See, they're not complete, utter strangers, like never been there, don't know of any of the places. That's not how it worked out. They wouldn't have known where to go to. It it's like a battle plan. It's like a it's like we actually, if you read the scripture and then we get to see what happened with them, they got put on in ways where people can't even understand. They had gold, they had silver, right? Whatever you want to consider monies, they had those. They had a substance of like animals, fine raiment, whatever you want to say. They had those things. So the Most High God took the time to nurture a people into a nation so that way when they went there, they didn't go empty handed. And then this is the ultimate hit of everything. And we're going to read this stuff. Um, the land that they went into was already furnished. I can't stress that part enough. The children of Israel did not have to build some of the structures that they went to go live inside of. It was already built for them. Other people had already done it. So the idea that other groups of the children of Seth, of the children of Noah, had not achieved their own kinds of greatness and hadn't achieved their own levels of understanding is a direct insult to the Most High God and to just creation in general. So when you hear me loosely say a term like black or Afro people, know that I might not be talking about the same genus or the same actual root stock of people. I'm aware of this when I speak. Other people might not be. Having said that, though, when the people go back into the land, they're allowed to use everything that they have. They're not going in there with nothing and then trying to create commerce with one another. They already have the means to trade what people find valuable, and they have so much of it that they can sustain their nations. And on top of it, the Jubilee. See, this is the art of the put on. The Jubilee was meant so that way no one would ever be poor for an extended period of time. So, okay, if you always get your inheritance back, you always get your same money back. You'll get back the same chance to get the money, right? So if you give up your land for 7 years, you'll have a chance to get it back after 7 years. If this person took care of it and they didn't try to destroy it because, at the end of the 7 years, they have to give it back to you. If there's no sort of underhanded foolery or conniving, trite, undisciplined mannerisms, because sometimes people just don't know what they're doing. Whatever the situation is, you're supposed to get yours back. And the Most High God put the people on for this. He didn't not put them, he put them all the way on, y'all. Because if they're not all the way put on, then what is that? He created a system where they would have generational wealth. He created a system where once they came out of captivity, they had wealth. He created a system where in which if they followed the system, longevity in their life, just speaking on how you treat one another, how you treat yourself, how you go about your daily business, your life is going to be longer. So how did the people not get put on? The Passover was a showing. You the only way you can really put somebody in the game is to show them that they're special. No matter how not unique it may be to what they're trying to achieve, they may be totally special in a way that they can't even see, don't even understand, and it takes someone else to cultivate that out of them. So that way they can see you actually do have true talent, unbelievable talent, but it's just not in the arena that you want to have it in, that you desire. But you have it in an arena where people desire it, where people need it. And once again, because the people were nurtured for 400, well, yes, from the time that the Most High God dealt with Abraham to the time that that the children of Israel, you know, go down into Egypt and all that stuff, is like a 430-year period. So that's not the 400-year captivity, right? They were only in Egypt for 200 something years for a handful of generations. So it couldn't have been but for so long. The point is this: when you look at what happened, you have to tell yourself this. Number one, if somebody is given a period where they can be incubated, where the manifestation of the cultivation can be completed, they will become who they're supposed to be. The people were given all those things, and yet they still failed. So before I end out today, I need y'all to understand that nobody in this land can really put you on the way you deserve to be put, the way that your people had got put on, to show that they were worthy. Now, everybody wants to talk about you have to be the hero of your own narrative, this, that, and the other. You can't have it both ways. You can't be the Egyptians and be the heroes of your own narratives, because the Egyptians didn't think that they were the heroes of their own narratives. They thought that the gods they believed in decided their fates. I'm just going to throw that out there. So when you hear people say things like that, you have to understand you have to be the hero for the you right here, right now. You have to be your hero for right now. But you're not the hero of the narrative for the people. No one person is the hero of the narrative. Moses is the greatest prophet ever, but he's not the hero of the narrative. Do y'all realize who all this is about? He put us on so that way we could realize who it's really about, which is the creator. That's the art of the put on. That's putting the people on. Where they realize no matter what, it doesn't really, it as long as I have what I need, it doesn't matter. Because it's not even about me. The Bible is not about the children of Israel as much as about them. It's really about the Most High God. Trying to do what? Find acceptance with people. Wow, this is crazy. The art of the put on was to show the people to accept the Most High God. That these are his ways, and if you truly do love him, you'll accept him the way that he is. See, I'm trying to give people the game that nobody else will give you. They won't say it to you like this. I will, because I love you and I care about you. That's a fact. Now, having said that, if you're a person who can stand back and say, okay, I can see how the people messed up. I can see how the people got to this point and how they're so far off now from where they ever were. It makes sense. Then there's other individuals who, for the life of them, they'll blame the ordained captors and the ordained enslavers of us, our tormentors and oppressors, right? Those who murdered, raped, maimed, killed, beat, destroyed, anything you can think of that has to do with lowering the spirit and the soul of the Afro man, woman, and child, and the indigenous people of this land. Wrong is wrong, right is right. And if it's not the truth, it is a lie. And I have only tried to, I'm doing my best. But if I did not tell the truth at any point, I was attempting to tell the truth. I was not attempting to tell a lie. Having said that, the Most High God put the people in a position where in which once they came out of one land and went into the other, all they had to do was follow what he asked them to do. But because people live in a base reality where if something falls on your toe and it breaks, it hurts. They don't, they can't say, okay, my toe is broke. I understand that. How do I overcome this? Will I overcome it? Is this the end? Okay. Once you start to get to certain stages and you start to realize it's not the end, I can overcome it. What am I going to do to overcome it? As opposed to dwelling on the fact that your toe got broke. I imagine that there were people that perished on accident when the earth first here, that just died on accident, like something falling on them, right? Them doing something that they have no business doing, like climbing a tree and falling out of a tree. Things like that had to have happened. People had to have experienced those sort of things. But still, I'm just saying, not to get outside of myself, the Most High God will create a situation where you you get to see who He is for what He for who He truly is. And all the things that He gave the people were not willing to accept who He was. I can't do whatever I want to do. I'm good. All the other gods don't care what I do. I mean, it's kind of the bottom line. Now, who would have thought putting somebody on was so that way they would accept you? Right. A real king creates and makes other, I won't say that he has to make another king or create kings, but he can. A real king can create other kings. He can make them to be. The Most High God is the king of everything. So he can make anyone that he sees fit the king or the queen or whoever, the prince or the princess over something. He can make them that. So to have shown the people what true majesty is in his way, right? For what he had to work with. This is what I need y'all to get. For what the Most High God was given to work with, as far as like the quality of people are concerned, he was still able to show them a level of majesty where once they fell from grace, once they fell from glory, people knew that they had done wrong. People knew it. They're like, yeah, they did it. They messed up. But that's okay. That's part of the learning cycle, and that's part of being a person. In this land, if you want to help put somebody on, don't always look to give them money. Some people don't need money, y'all. Some people need tools and instruments so that way they can go and procure funds for themselves. Some people need temporary housing, right? Some people do need financial assistance, right? Fiduciary means. Some people do. But other people just need someone to support them in the ways that they need to be supported. And that doesn't mean that you got to be anybody's lapdog or their stepping stone or anything like that. But if you want to help put people on so that way they realize that it's not you, it's the Most High God trying to work through you, trying to show them that there is a living God, then you have to do that so that way they can see it. It's not about, once again, you can't help somebody the way that you want to help them unless you know that you're trying to cultivate, you're trying to show them that there's a skill that you have that's uncultivated. But if they already have cultivated their skills And they're like, I just don't have all the assets and tools that I need. I need this. They might need an air compressor. They might need a bandsaw. They might need a jigsaw. They might need an impact drill, right? They might need something really expensive, like some shit that costs thousands of dollars, but something that, you can put a down payment on and they have to pay the payments. But if they get the tool, they have work. So they're like, I can make that no problem. And I can start paying you back no problem. You see what I'm saying? Like people need to put each other in a position where they can realize that there is something worth fighting and living for, no doubt. And before we roll out, like I said, the Passover, the real Passover, to me, this year's Passover started last night. Last night was the first full moon I've seen for the month of April. So, as I said earlier, all the baking soda in your houses, that's what I'm doing. I'm getting all the leaving out of my house, all the baking soda, all the yeast, anything that's a rising agent, it's got to go. It's got to just be put in storage. I don't have to throw it out, throw it away, but I'm gonna put it out of my home for right now. Uh, I mean, that's it. I'm gonna eat. I'm gonna cook my lamb. I'm gonna have my flatbread or my unleavened bread, tortillas, pita, that type of stuff. I'm gonna have my herbs, cook with it, rubbed in oil, rubbed in salt, sauteed. It doesn't say sauteed in the Bible, but that's what I assume when it says to cook the herbs with oil and salt. What else is that but sauteing the vegetables, searing them, whatever you want to say? You see what I mean, though? Like, I'm at that point where I just want other people to see that there's way more we can get from the Bible than we can't get from it. We can take away the Passover. He looked over all the people. Remember that. He looked over, the the spirit of destruction, the angel of destruction and death, passed over the homes, more than likely of where our ancestors were at when they lived in Egypt. Do y'all understand that? Do y'all appreciate that? We may not be here if that had not happened. We may not be here, period, if the Most High God doesn't visit the people. But I'm just saying, though, He put the people in a position to thrive and become a nation. And He started it from one step, from one man to another man, to two sons, okay, to one son having uh, an abundance of children, and those children having their own children, and then them going into a land in a place where people don't they don't eat meat like that, or they don't eat cattle, they don't eat cows, right? Shepherds were an abomination to the Egyptians. A reminder: the people lived in Goshen, and the land was plush, very green. So they were able to become these, really, really, really big herders in the land, and they were able to grow their numbers within this land. And even though they were oppressed in the land, they were still able to become a people in this land. Egypt was arguably the strongest and most, well off nation at that point. So they literally were able to see how you do commerce and understand how business works. There's so many different things I can't go into because it would take me away from what I'm talking about, and it would. But once again, you just use your imagination. Putting the people on was such a. I'll say it like this, and then I end on this note. Moses was brought into the palace of Pharaoh. He was taught the ways of war, undoubtedly. He was taught the understandings of logistics, undoubtedly. Right on? So he was more fit than anyone to lead the people out of the land, understanding how military units work, this, that, and the third. Is deep, is deep. And plus, he saw royal lineage, so he understood what a royal priesthood, if one was to be, he understood the Most High God could say these things to him and not confuse the man. Anyway, I salute y'all. I salute you again. I salute you once more. And I say, the next 7 days, treat it like, you have to still have to do your work. You still have to do your job. You have to do all that stuff. But when you're at home, when you're in the comfort of your abode, take the time to appreciate and acknowledge the Most High God, and don't be too good to cook a meal and to just say thank you and to show homage because you know that He made it possible for you. May tomorrow be better than today, and may your next week be better than the last. I love y'all very much. May you have a blessed day. I told you it's gonna be short. I'm uh I'm gonna get back on my feet with doing the stuff a little more consistent. I just been in my own head and trying to figure some things out and make sure that I have to be cognizant of not giving the wrong individuals too much information about the whole big picture. Y'all have a blessed day though. And I don't know, keep the Passover.